Hello again. It's Joe from Joe and Colleen's Driving School with another lesson of rules of the road. And before I get started today, I just want to make sure I touch on a couple things that I missed with some of my previous videos. Um, First one, when you're driving down the street, whether it be a busy street, back lane, just a regular side street, you always want to be scanning. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you look on the left side of your car, you go down, you look down as far as you can go, and then you over to the right, you look up as far as you go, look in your mirrors, your outside, your inside mirrors, and of course you're focusing on the front, but then once every now and then, I'm not going to put a time limit on it, but once every now and then do some scanning. You should always really be scanning, and you should never relax, okay, because there's always something that could possibly happen. Okay, so that's scanning. That also allows you to make decisions well in advance so that you're not trapped into making a bad decision or being in a bad position, not being able to go where you want when you want. Okay, so that's called scanning, and we'll talk about that lots when we're in the car. Um, Also, if anyone who's listening, be it a prospective student or a fellow instructor or an experienced driver, uh, hears me say something or write something or make a comment, and you think that, you know what, Joe, that's not all that accurate. Well, hey, I welcome your comments. Okay, I don't claim to be 100% all knowing or anything like that. So if you have a comment to make, please feel free to make it. And I'll graciously accept it. At least I'll consider it, okay? And finally, when you choose a driving instructor, just because you're watching these videos doesn't mean you're going to choose me as your driving instructor. But when you do choose a driving instructor, choose one that suits your personality. For example, I'm a fairly slow speaker, as you probably have noticed from watching the videos so far. If you're this far through, then you noticed that I'm a fairly slow speaker. Some people want answers just like that. And I've seen instructors, they are able to just give you an answer like immediately. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you were to say, how many houses should there be of space for me to go back into my own side of the road? So just imagine this for a second. You're driving down the street, there's parked cars, but then there's big spaces. You might say, well, how big should the space be before I go back into the road? Well, some people might say 6 houses, and they might have that right on the tip of their tongue. Me, I'm not like that. I don't respond in that way most times. I might start off with 8 to 10 houses, and it might not come out like I'm spewing out facts. Okay, so every instructor has their own style and own personality. No one style is correct. Okay, but you will succeed um, better with one style over another. So when you're taking lessons and it's not working with that person, you're not locked into that person forever. Try somebody else, somebody with a different style. Okay. Um, Also, if you do not understand what your instructor is saying, I told you, we talked about this a couple lessons ago. If you don't understand what the instructor is saying, you have to let that person know. It's Again, I used the example of feet the other day. If you don't know what feet are and you only speak in meters, and I keep saying feet, and I don't know, well, then you're not helping yourself. Or if I use little idioms or little sayings that don't make sense, if those sayings don't make sense and you truly don't understand what I'm saying, ask me to re-explain it. And I'll choose another set of words for you, okay? All right. So today we're going to talk about nice turns. I referred to that in the last lesson, but never really got to define what I mean by nice turn. Nice turn is not a legal word by any stretch of the imagination, but nice turn is just a phrase that I use. I'll say, oh, that was a nice turn you just made. Well, okay, what was nice about it? Well, if I say that was a very nice turn you just made, I'm talking about two things. Number one, your positioning, and number two, your speed. So this is what constitutes a nice turn. We'll just take a look at my picture over here. So here's just a regular side street. So we're in the top half of the picture right now. Here's a regular side street. I haven't drawn in any stop signs or anything like that because they're not applicable right now. What am I talking about? Well, this little line here, you might barely be able to see it. It's just a crack in the middle of the road. Okay? Just a side street with a crack running down the middle of the road. Very often we'll just use that as the center of the road. So to be in nice position, you'll be like this. I'll use my Tim Hortons card again today. So here we are. We're at a sidewalk here. I'm just going to suppose there's a stop sign here today. And I want to be about, I don't know, a meter, a little bit less than a meter, maybe just a tiny bit less than 3 feet away from here. And I'm going to go in, and as soon as I pass that sidewalk, I'm going to start steering. I'm going to start steering, and I'm going to go in, and I'm going to go in like this, and I'm going to make a turn into my own lane. Okay? The rules say first available lane. Now, this is what I call bad positioning. Watch this, where somebody comes up here, they go like this, they go way out straight, they start to turn, and they get this big wide turn, and then they finally end up. That you'll be marked on every time on a test. You have to learn how to turn your corners properly. So one of the things that causes people to have a bad turn positioning wise is that they get too close to the curb. If they're too close to the curb, they get this sense that they're going to go over the curb if they turn, and so they end up going way out, and way out, and guess what? They're already encroaching into the other side of the street. So when you're going to make a right turn, we're going to make sure you're about 3 feet from the curb, and just about here at the sidewalk, notice the curve of the road starts right here. Once the curve of the road starts, you can begin steering. So go over here, begin steering, and oh, there goes the car. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully you don't come up in the sidewalk or anything like that. Another joke fell flat again. So, around like this, around like this, around like this, and away you go. Now, that's positioning. What's the other thing? Speed. If you're going wah like that, well, you're not going to be able to make a good turn. A good turn means that I'm comfortable in the car if I'm the passenger. Remember, if you're driving, you're holding on to the steering wheel. You actually have something to hold on to, but your passengers don't. So that's what constitutes a nice turn, is positioning and speed. All right, let's see what we got next. Okay, next thing we're going to do on this little video here is roundabouts. And I'm going to just put the camera down just a little bit here. Okay, so I've drawn a picture of a roundabout. We're on the bottom half now. I suppose there are 4 different things you could do at a roundabout. You could make a right turn. You could go just plain right turn. You could go what we would call straight. So you go in, you kind of veer off to the right a little bit and then come back in and then go straight. You can make a left. And no matter what way you have in mind, you must always keep to the right on a roundabout. So roundabout has a yield sign, okay, the upside down triangle. And this sign here, you look for this sign. It's actually orange, and it says all traffic has to keep to the right. That's what that means. So when you're going into the roundabout, you must always enter to the right. Now there's a yield there as well. There's a yield on every corner. I just drew it on the ones. So if you're coming from here, you have to yield the right of way to anybody who's in the intersection already. You have to wait for them. Cars, pedestrians, bicycles, doesn't matter. Whoever's in there, you have to wait for them to finish what they're doing. Okay? Everybody must turn to the right. Everybody. So one of the confusing things about roundabouts is how do you signal your turn? And roundabouts have not been in Winnipeg for that long. So some of my fellow instructors might correct me on this, but I'm going to say approximately 10 years. So most people my age were never taught what to do at a roundabout. Never taught. Now, if you're young and you took driver ed recently, well, yeah, that would have been part of your program. But there are a lot of people out there driving right now as we speak who do not have any training in how to do a proper roundabout. So let me just show you the signaling rules, okay, about roundabouts. If you're coming along now, can I see this? Yes, I can, just barely. Okay, I'm going to drop it just a tiny bit more. There we are. Okay, so if you're coming along, suppose you want to turn right. I'll just get myself into the camera here. You're coming in, you want to turn right. Well, again, as I said before, you check to make sure that it's clear all around, and then you're signaling to the right, and you enter and you make your right turn. And off you go. Nothing to it. Now, what if you wanted to go straight? Now, this is a discussion I've had to have with the examiners because we go in, and of course we have to move over to the right, so we miss this circle here, and we have to come back to the left. And the general consensus with the examiners is if you're just going to go what amounts to straight, no signaling at all. You go in, no signaling at all. Just make sure it's clear to go. You go in, you swerve over a tiny bit, and then you swerve back, and away you go. Okay, so when you're going straight, no signaling required. Now, what if you want to go left? If you want to go left, this is what you do. You go in, of course, again, you're making sure it's clear. You go in, you go around, still no signaling yet. Go around, go around, go around, go around. Suppose you want to come down this street. Okay, at this point here, you signal for a right turn. And then you signal, and there you go. That's how it's done. Okay, so again, what do you do to turn left? You do all your checking, you go in, no signaling yet. no signaling, no signaling, no signaling, no signaling. You get to here, you signal right, and then off you go like that. All right, and then the one final thing that you might do, but they won't ask you to do this on a test, but I know people might decide to make a U-turn here. So what do you do in a case like that? Well, again, you go in, you check, you go around, you go around, you go around, you go around, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And when you pass the last street, then you signal right, and then you go down. That's how you do roundabouts. Okay, and if depending on where you're taking your road test, you may have a roundabout to deal with or two, and you may not have any. So that just depends on what location that you take your test at. Okay, so I am going to leave it at that. That turned into a little bit longer than I thought, but anyway, you take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.